Hey everyone, welcome back. I was looking for my microphone and I can't find it, and honestly, I don't have the energy to look. So hopefully you can hear me okay. Because it has been interesting 2 weeks. So about 2 weeks ago, for work, I flew to Calgary. If you know me in real life, you know how much I hate in-person meetings. I don't see the point of it. Whatever. Team building, I guess, even though we could do everything via Zoom like we always do. But anyways, that's what we did. Oh, stay to the end because I have some really good news. But let's get back to the story of the last couple of weeks. Anyways, had the team meetings on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then I flew out of Calgary at 9:30 at night on Wednesday because there's only a couple of direct flights from Calgary to Comox here on Vancouver Island, and if I could have left earlier, but I would have flown through Vancouver and then switched planes and then here, so I would have gotten home a couple hours earlier. I just didn't want to deal with the hassle. In hindsight, I wish I had dealt with the hassle, but I didn't want to. So I left on that flight. And while I was waiting at the gate, when it was time, getting close to boarding time, I did notice a lady she was hacking up a lung. She was obviously not feeling well. But anyways, she turned out to be sitting a couple rows ahead of me on the flight. So I get back and I worked Thursday and Friday, and then I had all of this week off. In fact, I have Monday off as well, and then Tuesday's Truth and Reconciliation Day here in BC, and so that is a national or a provincial holiday. So I don't go back to work until Wednesday next week. Yay. Anyways, so I get back and I work out those 2 days, and it's just crazy, right? There's the whole amount of work you miss when you're at these stupid offsites. Sorry, that's my outside voice. When you're at these offsites. So Thursday and Friday was really busy. Saturday, by mid-afternoon, I'm not feeling so good. I am exhausted, and I'm starting to feel a little got the chills a little bit and stuff. Honestly, I thought it was just sort of the come down from all of the rushing around and activity that I had to do just the week before. Sunday morning, I definitely didn't feel good. I definitely had the chills. I felt just a little achy. I thought, oh, here we go. I've got the flu, or I caught something on the plane. But it wasn't like super bad. Monday, I had the splitting headache. That's when the headache started. And I thought to myself, maybe this is COVID. And you can't get a COVID test here. Like, they used to give them out at pharmacies. Now, apparently, they don't. But I still had a couple of boxes of tests from back when Coronageddon was happening. So I grabbed one of those. And yes, it was out of date. But there was no doubt that I actually had COVID. So yay for that. Could not get through to my doctor's office. So I ended up calling 811, the Health Link line, and I talked to a nurse, which is an awesome system here. I think a lot of provinces have it. And she asked me, she sort of went through a bunch of questions, and she basically said, well, it doesn't sound like anything is bacterial. You've got a viral infection. And obviously you've tested it's COVID, and it's basically lots of fluids and ibuprofen and all of that. The problem was that by the following day, I felt like I was gargling with razor blades. And so there was Chloraseptic and these other horrible tasting lozenges and ibuprofen. every single day it felt like, or day and a half, it felt like it was something different. I went from the chills and the aches to the splitting headache to the sore throat for almost 2 full days where I literally couldn't, every time I swallowed, it felt like I was, swallowing knives. I couldn't sleep, obviously. And then cough. A very kind of productive cough. And a little bit of a runny nose, but mostly just cough, which is kind of where I am now. And this sucks. I gotta say, this is why I stay in the tiny house. This is why I like living where I am. I managed to get from 2020 to 2025 without catching this. And anyway, it's very frustrating. Luckily, thankfully, my boss has agreed to switch my week off from vacation days, taking vacation days, to sick days, because in the 9 years I've been at my company, I think I've only taken 1 or 2 sick days. Certainly can't remember. I can't remember taking a sick day, but I'm sure I have taken 1 or 2. And I can't remember the last time I was sick. Once a year I get a cold and that sort of thing, but not really sick. And this is really, it really knocked the stuffing out of me. You just don't feel like eating. You just, in the mornings now I feel pretty good. Like I feel pretty good right now. But by mid to late afternoon is when you start to feel crappy again. I am at least sleeping. But, it's just been so damn frustrating because I took this week off for a reason. And, well, that's the exciting news. The reason I took this week off was to get Keaton settled, because Keaton has moved to Vancouver Island. In fact, he's moved to here where I am, and he's just purchased a 5th wheel trailer. He's going to be living in that. And yeah, so he's moved to the island. And this week was going to be helping him get all settled, spending time with them, that sort of stuff, because, I had to work. And what was so frustrating about this team meeting in Calgary was he left for Vancouver Island on Monday morning. I was in Calgary. And it would have been great if we could have driven back together even. In hindsight, I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because that was his adventure to have, over 2 days and catching a ferry and all of that. I'm sure it's an adventure that he'll remember forever, and it's awesome for him. But, he arrived here and he stayed at the tiny house for a couple of nights while I was away. And he is now, until mid-October, he's actually house sitting for my neighbor who's away. And so Keaton is cat sitting her 3 cats and house sitting and having a blast, because he loves cats and they love him. And so it's working out really well. And it kind of gave him time to find a trailer and get settled and everything like that. So the trailer will be delivered early in October, just a few days before my neighbor gets back. And so there's time to get it all set up and everything like that. So I'm very excited about that. Very frustrated for having to spend my time off feeling like a puddle of discomfort. And, I know that this iteration of the virus is a lot milder than previous versions, the original versions for sure. And I know people who've had it both back then and recently. It's still not a walk in the park. And it's still very much around. I think that's why they've stopped even giving out tests, because basically the assumption is if you feel like you have the flu, there's a good chance that you've got COVID. Interestingly, they don't tell you to quarantine for 14 days. They tell you to, as long as you don't have a fever, if you feel up to resuming your normal activities, you can go ahead and resume your normal activities as long as you don't have a fever, which still seems like, and you know, I kind of didn't do that right away. Luckily, Keaton didn't get sick. I've been waiting for that to happen, and you know, he hasn't. He would have shown symptoms by now, because certainly we were hanging out together before my symptoms showed up. It's just very frustrating. But the good news is he's here, and his new adventure has started, and he's very excited about that. And so we'll see what happens with him. You're going to see him in the videos, and I'm going to share a little bit about that coming up. But I just wanted to give you a recap of what's been going on the last couple of weeks here for me and in the tiny house. Every day is better, but every day I wonder, okay, what's the next thing? I think I'm at the end. I think the cough, the persistent sort of cough that lingers for some time afterwards, is kind of the final stage of this current variation. So it's all good. I'm just really glad to have that sore throat gone. That was no joke. I have never had a throat that sore before. It is a rainy Saturday, and yeah, it's a good day to do nothing, which is pretty much what I've been doing. Nothing. Well, I've been letting my body do what it's supposed to do. Ironically, I had just gone to my doctor for my physical on my birthday. I always do my physical. You know, you've done all the blood tests, and the whole workup. And he had told me I'm in excellent health. Oh, getting cocky, Adelina. I was so proud of that. You know, the fact that I'm in excellent health, my cholesterol, everything, blood sugar, everything. Even my blood pressure had gone down, you know, and I've been working to get that down after the really stressful year that I had last year, you know, and everything. And then I get frickin' COVID on a flight home. Should have worn a mask on the flight. And certainly the next time I take a flight, I'm wearing a freaking mask the whole time. Absolutely. As soon as I hit the airport, I'm putting a mask on. When you're around that many people, and when you're in an airplane, if you're going to catch something, that's likely a recipe for catching it if somebody's sick. And I don't blame the poor lady. It is what it is. I'm just glad that it's almost over. And now I can focus on just being happy that Keaton's here, and you know, seeing what his adventure looks like, that sort of thing. I was halfway through a video review on the Blue Eddy Charger 1. That's the DC to DC charger that you put in your car that you can use to charge up your portable power banks, battery banks. They sent me that, and I was halfway through a review of that. Have not been able to finish it, and will not finish it this weekend either. I just don't have the capacity, the mind capacity to do it. I'm not looking forward to going back to work on Tuesday. I'm sure I'll feel better by then. Every day I feel better. At least now I'm waking up feeling refreshed. But yeah, anyways, so that's what's been going on. I'm curious, how many of you guys have gotten this thing recently, and are your symptom stages the same as mine? Because yeah, I heard that the sore throat and cough were sort of the latest thing. I didn't have much of a fever. You know, that was just the first day and a half. That the splitting headache was not fun either, gotta admit. But I took a lot of vitamin C, ate a lot of oranges, like I say, drank vegetable juice and broth, and you know, you get through it, right? I'm just grateful that Keaton was here, because he checked in on me and made sure I got what I needed. He got me the medicines that I asked for. And, you know, it's always nice to have somebody who's like a little worried about you. I don't think he's used to seeing mom sick. It's supposed to be the other way around. When your cubs are sick, then mama steps in and brings in all of the stuff and nurses them back to health. And I hate being sort of a burden. I know I'm not a burden, but, you know, I hate other people worrying about me. But it was very sweet. And anyways, that's what's been going on. I am feeling better every day, and so it's all going to be good. I just thought I would share that, and especially I had to share that giggle I had at myself for being all like, I'm in excellent health. Until I leave a tiny house and get around people. Not that having exposure to a virus like that has anything to do with anything else, right? You're going to get sick no matter what. If you are, like I say, getting on a plane, wear a mask, because that air gets recirculated and not everybody knows that they're contagious. And you won't know until a couple of days later, like until days later, you won't know until the first symptom shows up. So, yeah, a little freaky. And I, you know, was bummed because I thought, man, I managed to make it through without catching this stupid thing. Again, cocky. Don't get cocky. All right, guys, that's it. I'm going to go put some socks on because it's chilly in here and make myself another cup of tea. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you are staying safe. Remember, in a world where you can be anything, be kind. I love you, and I'll see you next time.